Have you ever met someone whose very presence feels younger than their years? Someone whose eyes shine with mischief, whose laughter is full-bodied, whose energy feels untouched by time. It's not the result of perfect skincare or a miracle diet. It's something far deeper, something timeless. If you look younger than your age, it might not be a fluke. It might be your soul revealing the truth your years can't hide. The outer appearance reflects the inner state, a notion often underestimated in modern society, where physical youthfulness is frequently attributed to external factors such as genetics, skincare routines, or medical interventions. But to understand why some individuals appear younger than their years, we must look beneath the surface and into the depths of the psyche. When one maintains a youthful appearance without artificial aid, it often signifies an inner equilibrium, a state of emotional harmony that subtly but powerfully manifests through the body. The human psyche and the body are not separate entities. They are deeply interwoven, each influencing the other in complex, often invisible ways. Psychological burdens such as chronic stress, unresolved trauma, persistent anxiety, and internal conflict do not remain hidden inside. They leak out in posture, in facial expressions, in energy levels, and yes, even in the aging of the skin and muscles. A furrowed brow may be the product of years of silent worry. Sagging features can reflect a soul burdened by unexpressed grief or resignation. When the mind is restless, the body cannot remain unaffected. On the other hand, when a person has taken the time to explore their inner world, to face and integrate the rejected, forgotten, or painful parts of themselves, a transformation begins to unfold. This inner work creates a sense of peace, not because the storms of life have passed, but because the individual has developed the strength to remain centered amidst the winds. This calm becomes visible. It softens the face, it opens the eyes, it eases the breath. And from this, a quiet kind of youthfulness emerges. Not the kind found in cosmetic perfection, but in the radiance of being inwardly settled. Those who look younger than their age often exude a presence that feels light yet grounded. This lightness is not superficial. It is the product of having unburdened themselves of unnecessary guilt, fear, or attachment. Emotional resilience cultivated over time brings a certain vitality that naturally expresses itself through the body. They may not even realize that their appearance is being shaped by this internal harmony, but to the trained eye, it is unmistakable. A youthful appearance can often be linked to authenticity. People who are true to themselves, who express their emotions honestly, who say no when they mean it, who do not wear the masks society imposes, conserve their psychological energy. They do not waste it on internal battles between what they feel and what they show. This alignment between the inner world and outer behavior, which otherwise would silently accelerate when the persona, or outer self, is congruent with the inner self, a kind of energetic economy occurs. And that economy shows up in physical well-being and appearance. Ultimately, when a person looks younger than their age, it may well be an echo of the deep inner work they've done. They may not have intended it, they may not even know it, but the body, ever honest and responsive, reveals the truth, that peace within will eventually shine without, not loudly, not boastfully, but in the gentle curve of a smile, in the brightness of the eyes, and in a presence that seems untouched by the years that have passed. Individuation is a lifelong journey, a process of becoming whole by integrating all aspects of the self, both conscious and unconscious. It is not about achieving perfection, but about discovering who we truly are beneath the layers we've acquired from society, family, culture, and our own conditioned fears. This inner journey, while deeply psychological and often spiritual, has surprising effects on the body. When a person moves through the stages of individuation, facing their inner truths, embracing their contradictions and reconciling their shadows, something remarkable happens. Their energy becomes more aligned, and their vitality begins to flow without obstruction. This alignment often results in a person appearing younger, more radiant, and more alive. The process of individuation involves meeting the self in its totality. It requires us to confront aspects of ourselves we may have rejected, denied, or left unexplored. These aspects, whether it's suppressed anger, unacknowledged desires, or unhealed wounds, exert a psychic weight. Carrying this weight, even unconsciously, creates inner tension. The body reflects this tension in subtle and sometimes overt ways, through tight muscles, chronic fatigue, poor posture, and even premature aging. But when these disowned parts are brought into awareness, examined without judgment, and gradually accepted, that psychic load begins to lift. The body, once burdened by inner conflict, finds relief. The lines on the face soften, the eyes clear, and the skin seems to regain its glow, not through magic, but through a release of inner stress. True individuation allows the energy within a person to move more freely. They are no longer fighting themselves, no longer wearing masks that conflict with their core identity. This inner coherence, this sense of being at home in one's own skin, is profoundly rejuvenating. Energy that was once used to suppress emotions or maintain a false persona is now available for living, creating, and simply being. The psyche is no longer locked in battle with itself. And in this resolution, the body thrives. The immune system functions better. Stress hormones decrease. Sleep improves, all of which contribute to a youthful and healthy appearance. In the process of individuation, one often reconnects with their original sense of wonder, curiosity, and creative power. These qualities are not exclusive to youth, but they are often lost as we conform to external expectations. When individuals reclaim these parts of themselves, not by regressing to childishness, but by reawakening the innocent yet wise child within, they begin to express a timeless essence. This essence is what we sometimes call a youthful spirit. It's not bound by age, and it doesn't fade with time. Instead, it deepens and refines itself through lived experience and self-awarenessness. That energy, that vitality of the individuated self shines outward and is often mistaken for physical youthfulness, when in fact it's something deeper, it's wholeness, radiating through the body. People who have walked the path of individuation also tend to carry less resentment, less bitterness, and less fear. Their inner world is less reactive, more accepting. They no longer resist life's unfolding, but move with it, adapt with it, and even find meaning in the painful parts. This acceptance grants them psychological flexibility, which in turn enhances physical flexibility and resilience. When the psyche is no longer rigid, the body follows. Stiffness, both mental and physical, eases. There is more flow, more vitality, more presence. And this presence, this graceful awareness of being fully oneself, often appears to others as agelessness. They may say someone looks younger, but what they are really seeing is someone who is deeply alive, deeply integrated, and profoundly at peace with who they are. The soul that dances delays time, not by stopping the clock, but by stepping outside of its grip. There is something profoundly ageless in a person who retains the ability to play, to imagine, to create without inhibition. This quality is not limited to childhood, nor is it lost with age. It is a state of being that emerges from deep within the psyche, from the parts of ourselves that remain untouched by time, the archetypal essence of wonder, spontaneity, and joy. When this essence is alive within someone, It expresses itself physically in a way that defies the number of years they have lived. Their eyes carry a lightness. Their movements possess a natural grace, and their presence feels vibrant. This is not the result of resisting aging, but of refusing to abandon the dance of the soul. A person who is deeply connected to their inner playfulness often appears less burdened by life. This does not mean they have not suffered or faced difficulty. Rather, they have not allowed those experiences to harden them. They have retained access to a part of themselves that knows how to transform heaviness into creativity, how to take sorrow and express it through art, humor, movement, or reflection. This kind of psychological agility fosters resilience, and resilience is one of the most life-preserving forces we have. It protects not only the mind but also the body, reducing the harmful effects of prolonged stress, inflammation, and emotional stagnation. Over time, this preservation of vitality translates into an outer expression that we recognize as youthfulness. There is a kind of intelligence that resides in the soul's ability to play. It is not concerned with competition, achievement, or efficiency. Instead, it seeks connection, exploration, and expression. Those who give themselves permission to indulge in such activities without guilt or shame tend to maintain a kind of psychological elasticity. They are open to new experiences, to learning, to failing without fear. This openness keeps the mind young, and since the mind and body are deeply linked, the body follows suit. Neural pathways remain active, muscles remain used and expressive, and the face carries fewer signs of strain or suppression. They may smile more genuinely, speak more freely, and carry themselves with a lightness that others intuitively recognize as something rare and beautiful. The dancing soul is not bound by societal expectations of maturity. It does not equate seriousness with depth, nor silence with wisdom. Instead, it knows that true depth often includes laughter, and that the most profound truths can sometimes be spoken through play. People who embody this understanding live in alignment with their core nature, and that authenticity becomes a source of energy in itself. They don't waste life pretending to be what others expect. They embody what they are, and that embodiment nourishes the entire being, from the inside out. There's also a spiritual aspect to this quality. The dancing soul is often in touch with something greater than itself, whether that be nature, art, love, or the divine. This connection infuses life with meaning, even in ordinary moments. It gives the person a sense of awe and reverence for being alive, and that reverence naturally expresses itself in how they treat their body, their emotions, and their relationships. Such individuals may not even try to look young, but their presence carries a timeless quality. They are not trying to chase youth. They are simply rooted in the eternal aspects of the human spirit, and in doing so, they delay the wear of time not by fighting it, but by dancing with it. Suppressed emotions age us, not just in metaphor, but in the very tissues of our body, in the posture we carry, in the micro-expressions that settle on our faces. Every feeling that is not acknowledged, expressed, or integrated does. Instead, it finds a hiding place within the psyche, and from there, it slowly weaves itself into the body. Emotions such as grief, rage, fear, guilt, or shame are powerful energies. When left unprocessed, they become burdens we carry silently, and these burdens manifest physically over time. The stooped shoulders of regret, the tightened jaw of unspoken anger, the heavy gaze of sadness, these are the ways the inner world leaves its imprint on the outer form. What we push down inevitably pushes back. Many people believe that aging is solely a biological process governed by genes, environment, or physical care. But the psyche plays an equally critical role. When emotional energy is trapped inside, the nervous system stays on alert. even subtly. The body does not fully relax, and chronic tension builds up. The sympathetic nervous system remains activated, releasing stress hormones like cortisol, which over time contribute to inflammation, cellular breakdown, and premature aging. The skin loses its luster, the eyes grow dull, and fatigue becomes a constant companion. This inner dissonance quietly shapes the body in ways that no external product can fully reverse. Yet when emotions are acknowledged and given space to be felt, a shift begins. The psyche begins to unburden itself. Tears cleanse, anger transforms into strength, and fear dissolves into understanding. This emotional movement is more than psychological. It is somatic. The body literally begins to breathe differently, move differently, hold itself differently. There is a kind of lightness that returns, a fluidity in the way one occupies their physical form. With emotional release comes physical relaxation, and with relaxation comes rejuvenation. The muscles of the face soften. The lines caused by years of suppression begin to fade, not necessarily in the literal sense, but in the sense of how the person is perceived. There is more openness, more presence, and presence is inherently youthful. Those who allow themselves to feel deeply tend to live more fully. They are not numbed by denial or locked in internal prisons. They engage with life, connect with others, and express themselves honestly. This emotional authenticity gives their personality a dynamic quality, and this dynamism keeps them mentally and emotionally engaged. Engagement, in turn, stimulates the brain, supports neuroplasticity, and protects against decline. It keeps the eyes bright, the voice strong, the heart open, and all of this contributes to the subtle, powerful impression that a person is younger than their chronological years. There's also the matter of emotional integrity. People who do not suppress their feelings are generally more aligned with their inner truth. They don't have to constantly manage a facade or maintain emotional walls. This honesty with themselves reduces inner friction. Their energy is not spent pretending. It is directed toward growth, creativity, connection. And where there is flow, there is vitality. Where there is vitality, there is youthfulness. Not in the superficial sense, but in a deeper, more enduring way, the kind that comes from being fully alive. The archetype of the eternal child lives within each of us, not as a refusal to grow up, but as a symbol of the part of the psyche that resists becoming hardened by life. This eternal child is not naive or immature. It is the spark of imagination, spontaneity, curiosity, and emotional sensitivity that refuses to be extinguished by the routines and responsibilities of adulthood. When this archetype remains active and consciously integrated into one's life, it can have a profound effect not just on personality, but also on physical appearance and vitality. Individuals who carry this archetype strongly tend to exude a certain freshness, an aliveness that others interpret as youth, regardless of chronological age. The eternal child within is deeply connected to the realm of creativity. It is drawn to color, sound, nature, fantasy, and possibility. When people retain access to this realm, their inner world stays vibrant. They continue to imagine new futures, to explore new paths, to reinvent themselves. This openness to growth and playfulness contributes to emotional resilience. Life continues to feel like a field of discovery rather than a battlefield of survival, and that perception alone can change the way the nervous system responds to the world. A person who approaches life with wonder rather than cynicism maintains more parasympathetic activation, the state in which the body heals, regenerates, and restores. In this state, the wear and tear caused by chronic stress is reduced, and over time, this manifests in the physical form as a kind of resistance to aging. When the archetype of the eternal child is active, It also affects interpersonal relationships. Such individuals tend to have an infectious energy. They laugh more easily, forgive more quickly, and connect more deeply. This emotional openness and willingness to be vulnerable sustains their psychological flexibility. Rather than becoming rigid or emotionally closed off with age, they remain adaptive, expressive, and emotionally attuned. These qualities not only enhance mental health, but they also keep the facial muscles mobile, the eyes expressive, and the posture uplifted. All characteristics we associate with youth. There is also an important distinction between being childlike and being childish. The former implies openness and creativity rooted in self-awareness, while the latter reflects emotional immaturity and avoidance. The eternal child archetype, when integrated properly, brings the joy of childhood into adult life without the avoidance of responsibility. These individuals do not escape reality, they infuse it with meaning and color. Their ability to find beauty in ordinary things, to laugh even during difficulty, to see the world as something still full of mystery. This mindset keeps the psyche energized. The body, responding to this psychological vitality, reflects it outwardly in tone, movement, and expression. The eternal child also brings with it a spiritual dimension. It carries a connection to purity, not in a moralistic sense, but in the sense of uncorrupted presence. This presence exists beyond time. It does not calculate or manipulate, it simply is. People who embody this quality tend to remain true to themselves. They do not mold themselves into roles that suffocate their essence. They live from an inner center, where joy is not conditional on success or status, but flows from simply being alive. This authenticity nourishes the soul and, by extension, the body. They age, yes, but slowly, gently, and with grace that feels touched by something timeless. Others may see them and say they look young, but what they are truly witnessing is the radiance of someone who has kept their inner child not locked away, but alive and dancing in full view of the world. When a person aligns with their authentic path, when they begin to live in harmony with their inner calling, their values, and their truth, there is a shift in energy that cannot be faked or fabricated. This alignment with purpose creates a resonance within the psyche that impacts every layer of one's being. People who are walking their true path radiate a kind of coherence. Their actions, thoughts, and emotions are no longer at odds with each other. This internal harmony not only fosters emotional clarity and psychological peace, but it also expresses itself in the body. Such individuals often appear more youthful, more alive, and more grounded, not because they are avoiding the burdens of life, but because they are carrying those burdens with meaning. Living in alignment with one's true self reduces the psychological wear that results from constantly adapting to roles that do not fit. The masks people wear, whether in careers that drain them, relationships that diminish them, or lifestyles that betray their values, demand a high energetic cost. That dissonance shows up over time. The body, when forced to endure a life that is fundamentally untrue, begins to shut down in subtle ways. But when that life becomes an expression of the inner truth, something else happens entirely. The face becomes more relaxed, the voice more resonant, the movements more natural. There is a restoration of flow, psychic, emotional. People living in purpose often carry a sense of direction that is not rigid but deeply anchored. They do not panic with change, nor do they over-identify with external validation. This groundedness creates a kind of internal stability that reduces anxiety and enhances presence. Presence itself is a powerful antidote to aging. It brings the mind out of a constant state of projection and worry and into the now, where real life happens. In the now, the breath deepens, the heart opens, and the body responds with softness instead of stress. This subtle shift from survival to authenticity infuses the system with renewed vitality. Living in alignment with purpose taps into a deep source of motivation that is not forced. It is not about pushing the self to be productive, but rather being pulled by a force from within. This kind of inner propulsion is sustainable. It does not burn a person out, but lifts them. It sustains passion, curiosity, and a sense of fulfillment. These emotions, when regularly experienced, become a kind of medicine. They support immune function, regulate hormones, and create conditions for emotional and physical wellness. The glow that others might perceive in someone living their truth is not just metaphorical. It is biological, psychological, and spiritual at once. Even the way such individuals age reflects this wholeness. Their wrinkles, if they appear, seem to carry wisdom rather than weariness. Their posture speaks of quiet confidence rather than defeat. Their eyes reflect a life that has meaning, and meaning itself is perhaps the most powerful elixir for maintaining youth. Not in the shallow, aesthetic sense, but in the deeper sense of feeling truly alive. When you are where you are meant to be, doing what only you are meant to do, something within you relaxes. That relaxation brings vitality. That vitality brings radiance. And that radiance often is mistaken for youth. But in truth, it is something far more enduring. It is the soul living in full alignment, and the body responding in kind. Looking younger than your age is not merely a gift of genetics or circumstance. It is often a quiet revelation of inner alignment. It is the soul signaling that you have not lost your curiosity, that you have not buried your emotions, that your inner child still dances freely, and that you have dared to live truthfully. When we release suppressed pain, stay connected to joy, walk the path that is truly ours, and honor the unseen rhythms of our psyche, something remarkable happens. We stop aging in the way the world expects, not because we fight time, but because we live so fully that time cannot wear us down. Youth, in its deepest form, is not about how few years you have lived, but how much life still lives within you.